Okay, welcome into another edition of the JMAC podcast, another episode of Informed Utah, where I want to let you know about legislation that's working its way through the Utah State Capitol right now. I think it's very important that we stay informed about the various issues, and there's a lot of legislation out there that I support, some that I have questions about, and so I am so excited to bring these interviews to you to help bring an education about these issues. And many of you know that I used to host a show on KSL called The Browsers. And as part of that show, I became somewhat of an expert in keeping kids safe online when it comes to pornography and cyberbullying and all of those things. And I used to travel around the state before the pandemic and give training classes on how people can set up their phones and their devices to protect their children online. And that's why when I saw this proposed legislation, I definitely wanted to have on the representative who proposed it to talk about this issue. So let's invite in Utah State Representative Pulsifer joining us live. Representative, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. It's good to be with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us about this legislation. It has to do with the way the phone is set up when you first purchase it. Why did you propose this, and why do you think it's important?
Well, so many people have a story. Most people have a story, and I have a story. I have someone who's very close, dear to me, who, when he was young, like probably about 9 or 10, he was inadvertently exposed to pornography, and it made a difference in his entire life. It affected his growing up years. It affected his ability to do well in school and so on. It affected his marriage. It affected his ability to be a good father. And he has had some really great counseling, and he's doing so well. But the thing was, he did not go looking for that. He didn't seek it out. It just came to him, and it's been so difficult. And the thing about our life today is everyone has a phone. I have 2 cell phones, actually, and other devices. And we give them to our children because, especially after this COVID experience, it's really hard to navigate the world without electronic devices. And so, but they can be problematic, because when a parent purchases a phone or a tablet for their young person, of course, their family computer, they can have the filter on at home, and so they can kind of help with that. But with the phones and a tablet that can access the internet anywhere, most all of them come with filters on, but they're not always easy to turn them on. Right. Not all parents know they need to, and not all parents know how to. And there are many parents who are very tech savvy, and they can do it. But it's difficult. And so this child has it, and they don't go looking for the pornography. They don't try to access it, and it just comes to them. And it can be very disturbing and can start them on a road of addiction that can be difficult for their whole life. So when I heard about this bill, a constituent brought it to me. I thought it was a great idea. Just asking the manufacturers to bring the phones to Utah, sell the phones in Utah with the filters turned on. And then, of course, they would have, maybe a passcode or something that would be given to the adult to turn them off. Because, there are many adults that don't want them on. And if they're a parent and they don't want them on for their children, they could turn them off. But we think this will help a lot of parents and a lot of young people to avoid that having that pornography, just come to them, and starting down a possible road of addiction.
Yeah, I think that one of the things you're pointing out is absolutely 100% true, and it's something that I tried to teach parents is that children today don't have to go looking for it. When I was young, it wouldn't just stumble into your living room. You had to have a friend who showed it to you, or you found it in a field somewhere or something like that. And nowadays, in fact, it happened to one of my children. They had an assignment, a science, I think it was anatomy assignment, did an innocent Google search online, and suddenly a whole new world was opened up to them. And it did create long-lasting issues. And so just pointing out to parents, first of all, it's going to find them. And you need to, as a parent, take every step possible in order to ensure your child's safety if you're going to hand them the device. And it's not just pornography, it's also cyberbullying. I mean, you really have to educate your child about what they might see online, just like you'd educate them before you hand them the keys to the car. So I really appreciate the emphasis that you're putting on that. Hopefully that will help parents understand better what their role is as a parent when they hand them these smart devices. I'm actually a big proponent that when you hand your child the device for the first time, that you make it a complete dumb phone. I mean, most phones, I think, come to children as hand-me-downs. And so I think that's going to be kind of a part of an issue with what you're proposing. But I would say hand that child a dumb phone, and then as they earn trust and responsibility with that phone, then you can turn on some of those other features that you're talking about. What is some of the pushback you're getting? Are you getting any pushback when it comes to having these filters pre-installed and pre-activated on a device?
Well, we're getting a lot of support from parents, who appreciate that somebody's going to help them. Because so many parents want to do the right thing, but they don't always know exactly how, and they just really appreciate this isn't a cure-all, it's just a help to parents. The pushback is really coming from the manufacturers who are telling me that it will be hard and it will be basically too hard. And that's where the pushback is coming from. We have people who are involved in tech that say that it really won't be that hard. One of the pushbacks, too, was having this apply only to Utah, that it should be a national solution, which I would agree with that. It should be. It's just I cannot control, the national, making it go nationally. But what we think we can do is do one state at a time, which has the effect of making it national. So one of the things that we put in the bill was that it would only go into effect when 5 other states adopted the same provision.
Okay.
So that would be 6 states. And we feel like 6 states is a large enough group of market that it would make it a little bit easier for the manufacturers, because they would be looking again at the population of 6 states, not just one. So it wouldn't even go into effect until 6 states had adopted the same provision. And we know other states are looking at it. We've had discussions with, and others that are working with me have had discussions with other states who are very interested in it and watching us closely.
Yeah, I love that you're considering the impact on the actual device manufacturer. When you figure that you have to cater to 50 different states and their different ideas, that can be very difficult. We've seen that with car manufacturing and selling cars in California. It's totally different than selling a car in Utah or somewhere else. What would you say to those people who say, I don't have any kids? Why should I have to have a phone that's got that turned on, and now I have to go and figure out how to turn it off?
Well, we have the ability to turn it off, which I think the reason why it's easier to have the phone come with the device with the filter turned on is the accidental exposure with children. Mm-hmm. Now, so that if the parent doesn't know or hasn't got it figured out how to do it, there's that accidental exposure. But if an adult wants to have it turned on, we feel like you don't have that accidental exposure problem. And so they could take the time to turn them off, because absolutely they can turn part of them off or all of them off. It's just the exact same filter that's on the device currently. And so, the problem with turning it on is the accidental exposure. Mm-hmm. So they could easily turn it off. They can have it however they want it.
Yeah, I would actually love it if this was something as part of the checkout process. So whether you're at the actual like AT&T store, or you're online, or you're with Apple, if they ask you during that checkout process, is this for a child and would you like these filters pre-installed? I think that would be a really neat way to be able to answer the needs of the parents, and also for other people who, like me, my kids are all grown up now. I'm not worried about this stuff. I think that would be a neat option, but I don't know how you would legislate that option to have them provide that.
Yeah, I don't want to legislate so tightly that, it affects all the retails, the sellers and all of that. So that's why we're hoping this gives that option would still be available for some retail store to say they have to come with the device with the filter turned on. But if you'd like it off, here, I'll just do that for you. That would be awesome.
Yeah, and I guess they could probably do that right in the store anyway. Like if they were selling you that device and those filters were turned off, they could ask you, "Hey, we'll just turn them off quick and you'll be fine." This really, though, it does not solve the issue of hand-me-down phones.
No,
and
it doesn't.
I never ever bought one of my young kids a phone. Never did I purchase them a brand new phone. They always got the hand-me-downs from me. They were always smartphones because I wanted the best and the latest technology, right? But I knew, because I was in that was my field, I would go in and I would turn that phone into a dumb phone before they hand that to them. So there's still a huge educational curve that needs to be applied here. Parents need to know. I really believe, Representative, that handing your child unsupervised access to the internet or uncontrolled access to a smart device, I think it's as dangerous as handing them a weapon. With the people out there, the predators that are out there online, with the pornography and those types of things, I just don't know if parents take this responsibility seriously enough. We always end up learning our lessons after the fact, and that's a real problem, and I'm not sure how to better address it.
Yeah, and you're right. This is what we're hoping is this is a tool for parents who are trying to be good parents. Like you say, it is still the parents' responsibility. This will just be a tool to help them. Because, yes, they do need to have the conversations with their young people and set parameters. I mean, there's a lot of things they need to do. And we know it's not a cure-all, as you mentioned.
Right.
There are still many, many things that they need to be aware of and do. We just think it is a step in the right direction and a good tool to help great parents be great parents.
Yeah, in fact, this is Peary Andy on Facebook. He says filters don't work 100% anyway. As a parent, please do not trust that these filters are going to work perfectly for you. You can't. There's no technology out there that will parent for you, right? These are just tools to help you out in the process. But I truly believe in today's world, you have to, even if you have everything locked down, your home internet, your device. Even if you take every measure, they're going to see something at their friend's house. They might stumble on something from somebody else's phone. So you've got to be proactive and tell your children at an early age, I hate it, but an early age, what they might see, what it means, and what should they do when they see it. I just think you have to prepare them ahead of time in today's world.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, this is not to take the place of any parenting or to be relaxed and think, because I have this phone that with the filter turned on, now I won't have any problem, because that is not the case. But like I said, it's helping. And my example is, and there's so many parents that have talked to me and said they just aren't sure they know how to do it. And if the filter's turned on initially, then that's just, again, one tool in their hands to help them. But absolutely, they have to have the conversations, and they have to be watchful and have the parameters, and whatever they decide to do. You can't have your phone with you at night or whatever it is that they decide to do, they still need to do. Absolutely.
I think what happens is, as parents, we feel like we're so far behind our children, and they know all this tech and we just don't know. And there's some real ingenious kids out there that really know how to work around a lot of these things. But even if your legislation doesn't pass, I think that parents need to know They have as much access to information as the children do. If you want to know how to lock down that device, turn it into a dumb phone, how to activate security features on the phone or on your home router or your home internet, just type it into Google. What type of phone is it? How to set up parental controls? Just ask Google. There are so many cool, easy to follow videos out there to help you in this process, even if this legislation doesn't pass.
That's right. We just want to, like I said, parents need to be aware of what their kids are doing, and they need to go through, just as you mentioned, they need to do everything they can do. This is to try to help parents and give them one more tool in their hands that we think an important tool.
Yeah, this is Kathy on Facebook. She says, I would be satisfied with step-by-step instructions, like a pamphlet, so I could make the decision at my convenience. Even that would be better than what's happening. These devices, it's so crazy, especially with Apple. There's no instruction manual for these incredibly complicated devices. They don't tell you what's on the phone. They don't tell you how to use it. This thing is more complicated than the space shuttle or when we flew to the moon, and they just hand it to you and say, good luck,
Yeah. And, I had one parent tell me a few days ago that she has been doing the phone thing for her children. Her oldest child is 18. So she's been doing it for 8 years or maybe 6 years. But she said she thinks that and she's felt very tech savvy and felt fairly confident in her ability to turn on the filters and always did. But she said it's actually getting harder to figure it out.
Interesting.
Every time you get a new device, you have to refigure it out because it's just a little different. And she said that she feels like it's getting a little bit harder to figure it out. So, just again, a tool for parents. And yes, a manual would be great.
Yes, some type of pamphlet, an instructional video that comes with it, something else besides just pull the wrapper off and turn it on, and who knows what the thing does. I mean, there are so many features these devices have that we don't even know how to use or why would we use them. It's really unbelievable, the technology that we all carry around. Representative, I'll be interested in watching this as it works its way through committee to see if you're able to have an impact. I do think that just you working on it is going to provide some level of education to parents, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on to talk about it, so that we can reiterate the importance of being an active parent when you hand technology to your children.
Well, I agree with that, and I appreciate it for that reason. Just every time a parent can learn a little bit more about the need for it and maybe how to do it is really, really helpful.
Absolutely. Representative, thank you for your time today.
You bet. Thank you.
All right. Have a wonderful day. Again, we'll continue to follow that legislation as it works its way through the legislature. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns about it. Leah says, get a Gab phone. I've heard about Gab phones as basically a phone designed for a child or a teenager. The truth is, every single phone that you can buy on the market today has these features built in. Every router that you buy has parental controls built in. Every Xbox, every PS5, every single device comes with robust parental controls built in. But as the representative is pointing out, they're not activated by default, and they don't come with instruction manuals on how to do that. So I don't know if her bill is the absolute solution to do this. It may make parents complacent and feel like they don't have to do anything. That might be a concern. But in the meantime, just Google it. There are videos available for your device on how to set it up online right now. And if your kids want to download an app, there is an easy way to find out if it's a good app. Just Google it. And in fact, I have an entire webinar on my page, jmcfarland.com, where I talk about parenting and different parenting styles and some of the techniques I use as a parent. And I have a whole section in there devoted to raising your kids up in a digital age. You might want to check that out if this is a concern for you. Again, it was a program that I had delivered through in-person in-person meetings across the state of Utah, but haven't been able to do that because of the pandemic. So I put them into an online training course. So check that out at jmcfarland.com. Also, please take a moment if you can and make a donation to this podcast. Become a one-time patron or a monthly patron. Take a picture of that cool little flow code that you see right there on the screen. It'll take you to my website, and any little bit helps me be able to bring this information to you on a regular basis. Again, we're talking to legislators all this week and next week about legislation working its way through the Utah State Legislature to help you better understand what your representatives are doing, whether or not your rights are at risk, and whether or not these are good pieces of legislation that will help you out. And in fact, we've got another interview coming up at 6:30. This one is with Representative Stenquist, and it just caught my eye because it has to do with candidates using a nickname on the ballot. As you know, Jay McFarland is not my real name, or did you know that? It's my radio name that I've used for 20 years. And so when I ran for Congress, I was on the ballot as J Mac McFarland, not even Jay McFarland. And this representative thinks the whole nickname thing on ballots might be going a little bit too far. I'll be interested to talk to him and see what he has to say about it. So we'll have that coming up for you live at 6:30. And other than that, I hope you have a wonderful evening.